And here we go. Close those doors, shut those doors. Hicks, it's time for players only, bud.
I love it.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
only.
And we got someone who you're familiar with, a friend of yours and a friend of ours now, Damon Severson. Thanks for hopping in here. Columbus Blue Jackets, I should say. Damon Severson with your friend here. What's his name?
Yeah, we got Reggie here. He must know the camera's on because he's getting his full FaceTime today.
Look at Reggie just staring at you, man. That dog's in love with you. Good dog. How old's he?
Yeah, he's a 5-year-old. We've had him for a bit now. So funny enough, when I was playing in New Jersey, we ended up finding him at a breeder here in Ohio, and we Googled where the breeder was and ended up being 12 minutes away from our house that we bought here, funny enough. So
no way.
Made the decision easy for you when they traded for your rights. Yeah, do it for Reggie. It's at home. It's great.
Hey, so does that, but being that close to the breeder, like, is Reggie going to get another sibling here or what?
That's what we're worried about. I'm worried if I take my wife there that we're going to end up coming home with an extra one. So that might end up happening yet.
All right. So, Sevy, Reggie's not from Saskatchewan, but you are. I got to ask, are you a massive CFL fan, and are you following the Saskatchewan Roughriders like every single other guy from Saskatchewan does?
I wouldn't say quite as much as some guys religiously follow them. I'm buddies with the Shen brothers, and we always joke in the summer about the Roughies and going back home and making sure we try to take in the game and stuff. But anytime I'm back in Saskatchewan visiting my family in the summer, I always like to try to take in a game if I can, if it works out with the schedule.
It's so true when you say that, though, for a lot of the Canadians in general, but mostly the Western boys would always talk about it, right?
Saskatchewan boys love the Roughriders.
They love them. They love them.
Yeah.
So what about, like, now you're in Columbus there, and I was fortunate enough to play in Columbus for a little while. I mean, you're in Buckeye country. Like, have you gone to a game yet? Have you been to the shoe? Have you heard about it?
Yeah, we actually went to the first 2 games this year. It was a couple blowouts, but we got to experience the fans and the atmosphere. And actually, they have a big game this weekend on Saturday. I think it's their biggest one of their season. They got Penn State coming in, so we're unfortunately on the road in Minnesota. We got some business to take care of ourselves, but it's going to be a pretty wild weekend here in Columbus. But it's an awesome atmosphere in that stadium.
Those obviously everybody knows of the rivalry with Michigan, and anytime that's happening, I grew up in Ohio too, up in Cleveland. Like, people are always talking about going down to Columbus for those games.
I was there last year, and we couldn't get a hotel because, like, it was fully booked. So we had to stay in a place we've never stayed before because the city was ready. Like, Columbus is a sneaky sports town, and I think a lot of people around the league that haven't got to travel there don't really understand the draw to Columbus. Like, as a player, I love going there.
Yeah.
You're almost right on campus. You've got all these sports. You've got passionate sports fans. And I think, Sevy, you've probably experienced that so far, that Columbus is not what a lot of people expect.
Yeah, it's definitely a hidden gem from what I've seen so far. And people are friendly. People are excited about their sports teams here, and they're definitely passionate. So I've been, fortunate to meet a lot of great people so far. Awesome neighbors here in the community that we found a home in. So everything's really positive so far. Now it's just a matter of turning the Blue Jackets into a contender and a winner, and being a part of that for the future here. So I look forward to hopefully being a part of that.
How about the damn cannon? Like, honestly, that thing's...
Yeah, I've got to know. I said to Rupper, the cannon wasn't there for you, but I want to know what the association is. So when there's a goal scored, or right before the game, before the anthem in Columbus, they have that cannon that goes off. Nobody understands. You can't see this on TV and get a feeling for how loud it is. It can startle you, and it has a bad association. Like, when I hear that cannon, that means that we got scored against, or I did something wrong, or things aren't good, everything's down. I'm sure it was the same way in New Jersey. Like, do you have a new association with what that cannon means to you now as a Columbus Blue Jacket?
You're honestly, you're bang on. Like, when I was at the Devils, I did not want to hear that thing once. I wanted to hear it at the start of the game because I knew it was, no matter what, when they were coming out for the start, it was going off, but we didn't want to hear it again. And now it's the complete opposite because, the more goals we score, the better. So I'm trying to hear that thing as much as possible. And, a lot of people that have watched the game so far and are getting used to me playing here, they're like, what the heck is with that cannon? And some people love it. Some people are like, I want to sit right in front of it. I want to set it off. I want to be as close to that thing as possible when you guys score. And some people are like, get me away from it. So it's one of those things where it's a love or hate thing. But for a player, it's a good thing when it's going off because we're scoring.
Yeah, that's true. You're going to embrace this to be a very good thing for you. But it's coming when there's a Jackets goal. I think the biggest thing, and we've seen players, I think your current teammate now, Johnny Gaudreau, it got him a little while back, but it's in warm-ups, and he's in Calgary at this time. See him right there. It's like it gets him every time. It's almost like, man, again, it got me, because you're not expecting it right there, right? Like you're coming out before the game starts.
The best thing that you could do is, if there's a guy that hadn't played in Columbus yet, in the dressing room, no one talks about the cannon, because everyone wants this guy to get startled. So you're just sitting there and you're on the bench and you're waiting for that national anthem. Everyone takes their helmets off and everyone's just ISO cam on the guy that hasn't played there before because he doesn't know, and they're startled every single time.
It'll get you every time. The lights are down. Get ready for the game. You're thinking about something else, and you hear this Civil War cannon going off. You're like, what is happening right now? Hey, Sevi, I want to ask you, because Hicks and I have talked about it. I played in the Ontario Hockey League. You guys both in the WHL. Just take us through, because I've had nothing but respect for the Dub guys, being the toughest guys. And I don't even mean with fisticuffs, which they generally are as well, but I also mean just from the travel that you guys had. You got any stories of playing in the Dub? Like, what was the worst roadie that you guys had?
The worst roadie, you know what? I honestly just give credit to the players and the teams and the organizations that do the most travel. Brandon Wheat Kings being one, Prince George, Portland Winterhawks, all those teams got to spend so many hours on the bus that they have sleeper buses. So I think it's like bunk beds. I've actually never been on one. Kelowna had pretty good travel where I played in the BC division, but we would do that. The way we had it set up, fortunate for us, was we had the Saskatchewan road trip was usually right before Christmas every year, and I think that our general manager had something to do with that. He had a couple ins with the league that he would always, try to get guys as central as possible to get them home for Christmas and stuff like that after or for the break, and get each other back. So we would hit that Saskatchewan road trip, and usually the first stop was Swift Current, and I think it was about I want to say from Kelowna to Swift Current, it was at least 12 hours in that range. So you just sat there on the bus 12 hours and you left early. You left at about 9 a.m., 8 a.m., and you got there at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. And it was just one of those things. You brought snacks, you brought games, you just kind of did stuff on the bus with the boys. That some of the best memories with your junior teammates were on those long road trips. So you spent hours on there, and it was definitely something you look back on, and you don't miss those bus trips, but you just miss being around with the guys in that aspect of things.
You said it perfectly. Like, when I think about those bus trips, when I first got to the American League and the NHL, you're sitting around and you're listening to guys complain about these road trips, and you're just so numb. Like, even at the time, you're thankful to be playing junior hockey in Western Canada. You think, this is great. So you're not complaining even as bad as it is. And then all of a sudden, you're in the Metro Division, like you were, Sevi, and guys are complaining about a flight down to Florida or North Carolina, that it's taking long. And it's like, that was the closest road game, and we'd play the same day. We weren't flying in a day before. So I think it's a benefit. I remember one time, my worst road trip was Seattle to Prince George. That was a 12-hour trip, and we left at midnight. And we were all lights out. The sun hadn't come up yet. And they wake us up, turn on the lights, get out. Okay, we got McDonald's at 7 in the morning. Then you're back on the bus.
Pre-game meal.
Then you get into the hotel around 1 o'clock, have another meal, and then you're going to the rink after pretty much no sleep on a bus for 12 hours. It hardens you up. And I agree with you, Sevi. The memories of the camaraderie, the guys on the bus, those you got to learn how to make friends in those situations, and it becomes easy when you spend so much time on the bus.
So what's it like when you make it to the show and you're on a charter and you got fillets on the plane? You guys are like, we made it?
Yeah, life changes in a hurry, and you don't have a choice but to grow up quickly. That was one thing I found. And when I came in New Jersey, we had such a veteran team that the majority of the team had kids, and they had, family at home that they, would go home to after the games, after practices. And whereas I was used to going and hang out with the guys, or going to lunch and doing stuff with the boys in junior, and it was a real wake up call. So you spend time on the plane, and you get all these luxury first class meals, but once you're there, you don't want to give it up, because I definitely still enjoy it to this day. And I was talking to our goalie coach in Columbus today, Nicholas Backstrom. He's like, you know what, you got to enjoy it while you got it, because it goes by quick, and definitely trying to live in the moment as much as possible. And now that I'm found a new home here in Columbus, I'm definitely going to enjoy every moment of it and take advantage of it for sure, and hopefully be successful here.
Sevi, you mentioned being a really young guy in New Jersey, and it was a veteran team, but you started out really young and you played right away. In my mind, when I look at your career, you went from Damon Severson, the young guy, to Damon Severson, the veteran defenseman, almost overnight. As the league got younger, did you ever feel that there was a moment where you woke up and you thought, geez, I'm relied on to be a veteran guy now?
Yeah, it's very, very good. Very good assessment there because it did hit me hard, especially when we started getting a couple of those first overall picks, and Heishier and Hughes and some of those young guys were coming in, and they were only, it felt like a few years younger than me, but then they kept coming and kept coming. And it's just like, okay, well, we had a couple tough years there, and then finally, in the past few, we started to turn the corner a little bit, especially last year. But yeah, there was definitely a time there where I was a young guy for about my first 4 or 5 years. It seemed we had such a veteran team for a while, and then all of a sudden, like year 6 and 7, it like flipped the switch. It was like, okay, I'm the guy that guys are asking questions to. Now I'm the veteran. I got to have the answers for these young players coming in. So, it was a learning curve quick, and luckily I had some great veterans to learn from, but now I'm in the situation where guys are coming to me, and I take pride in that, and look out for these young guys like they did when I was a young guy.
Yeah, well said. You're seasoned vet now. You're a seasoned vet. All the young guys are going to be asking you questions. But we have some questions for you on this little segment that we call What Were You Thinking? We're going to show you some pictures. Want to know what you're thinking in these moments.
Meeting Lou Lamoriello for the first time, you'd only heard the stories, but I made sure that I was clean shaven and had short hair. That was one thing.
That's half the battle. That's half the battle right there.
What about the sideburns? I've worked with Lou for a long time. He doesn't have rules on sideburns, but those look a little long for me.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what I was thinking there.
Lou's got sideburns right there too, so maybe he's okay with this.
Maybe I saw him the night before or something and said maybe I got to keep mine a little longer in his competition. But that was a cool moment for sure.
What else do we got here? You remember this moment?
That's my first goal. I got Cammy coming at me with his no teeth in his mouth, and he's just, I think we had a good first period. That was down in Florida, second game of my career, and I just kind of shot a wrist around net and it went in the net. And then I think actually Yager was on the ice, Camilleri was on the ice, some real good veteran players that played a long time in the league, and Cammy came at me with the no teeth, no front teeth, and I just, you can't see my face, but I'm just dying laughing at him just because he's looking at me like that.
Hey, who's the assist on the goal? Is it Yogs? Do you have Yogs as your assist? One of your assists?
You know what? I think that they didn't give it. Yogs had the puck just before that, but I don't think that they gave any assists because it was a turnover. If I am not mistaken, I think it was Brian Campbell. He was trying to make an outlet pass, and it just skipped over his forward stick, came right to me, and I just saw a lane through traffic, and Luongo was the goalie. I just fired a wrister on net. He didn't see a thing.
Who's he? What goalie? I want to know who he scored on.
Luongo, Roberto Luongo.
Hey, guess who else scored their first goal on Roberto Luongo?
That's
yours
not a bad
truly,
guy,
that a boy. We were talking about the other end. How about yours?
Yeah, I'm Carey Price.
Carey Price.
There we go.
We talked about this the other day at because who was it Barzy that had who did Barzy have his?
It was another Vezina caliber goaltender, Henrik Lundqvist.
There's Lundqvist.
Yeah.
Wow, we're getting some good
players only. That's one of the prerequisite things. You need to have a good first goalie on your list.
And you have to be unassisted as well, like this one right here. So what else we got? We got another one?
Oh, that's probably top 3 biggest goals of my career last year. I think we were in a little bit of a slide in New Jersey. Had a couple games we lost. Had the Rangers, our biggest rival, at home, and just overtime, I came down the wing, and I pretty much, when I scored that goal, I blacked out. I didn't know what I was doing on that celebration, but I was so excited because it was such a big moment, and just a little bit of a turning point for us, a little bit of a slide there, and a big rival game. Obviously, we ended up playing later on in the playoffs in the first round, but that was a huge one in my career, and a huge one to, obviously it was being my last year in New Jersey. It was a good memory, and that's one that I'll never forget. Always
feels good against the biggest rivals, right? Do we have his? We got a little tussle here too with Chris Kreider. He's no slouch, and but you're a Western boy. We talked about this. This is not foreign to you.
Yeah, that's he's a strong guy. I give him a lot of credit, and you can see with his speed and his power, and you can't move that guy. That's one guy I'll never try to move in front of the net. But it was just one of those games. I think it was actually a COVID year. Nobody in the stands or anything, but I was just trying to get the boys going. I think he laid a pretty clean hit on me, and I just said to him, I said, "Yeah, we might have to go here." And it was a pretty even fight. He got me a little bit early there, and I came back at the end. But not something I do very often. But when it comes time for it, like you say, the good Western boys got to make sure you take care of each other.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
were pretty dialed into. I don't know if we can start that video again. That the tap dance around the stick.
Yeah, watch this. A no look, moving and tiptoeing around the stick, which is clutch because you don't want the stick involved.
That would not be good.
Or near you. Watch right here. No look. Sevy, look at this. No look. Right up. Right here. Whoop. Over the stick.
No big deal.
And then this is my favorite part too. Come in. All right, which way you want to go, Cries? You want to go lefts or right? Let's come in as righties, and I'm going to switch real quick to my left. So just showing some versatility here. I think you go one punch, switch. Oh, you almost got him there, being able to switch to your left. And this is some good stuff here. I like that in the big rivalry matchup.
Yeah, good tilt. Good tilt to get the boys going early in that game. Funny enough, actually, when I was in junior, I laid a hit on a guy, and somebody came after me and wanted to go, and he dropped his stick. And when I was dropping my gloves, I tripped over his stick and went right on my back like a banana peel. So, yeah, I've had one of those happen before, so I must have had PTSD from that, and I made sure to not have that again.
I got my first fight ever in junior hockey, in Ontario Hockey League. I'm 17. I'm fighting against an overager in Sarnia. Preseason game. I'm skating out for a face-off. So stoppage of play, skating out for a face-off. This overager skates up to me. He just sees a big kid. I was 6'5". He's like, "Hey, kid, you want to go?" I don't know what any of this lingo is. I'm like, "Sure." And I drop my gloves, and he goes, "Wait till the face-off, man. We're second center ice." And I'm like, so I go back and I go to pick my gloves up. I'm like, I look like a real chooch right now. Like I'm going to pick up my gear. I'm like, "No, man, you want to go? We're going now." And I fought him. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. It's a whole new world out there. We got one more, I think, for you. Ah, that's a nice costume right there.
Yeah, that's my wife and I. She did an amazing job. Got to give her all the credit on that one. Figured out what we wanted to be for Halloween. Oh, sorry, he's barking. Crazy dog. That was a dodgeball costume for Halloween, I guess, the one year, and she did a great job of just figuring out what we wanted to be. And we're actually in that process right now, trying to figure out what we want to be for our Halloween party. But she had the makeup.
Dude, that detail for her is unbelievable, right?
Yeah, like she colored in her unibrow. She bought fake teeth. She put a whole bunch of makeup to make it look like a mustache, and it just ended up working out being a really good costume. And then funny enough, she ended up starting a mini dodgeball game, and that's at Corey Schneider's house. We had our Halloween party that year, and she started a mini dodgeball game in the backyard. People were throwing all sorts of things at each other. We were I was like, "Oh, relax. You don't want to break a window here." But it ended up being a lot of fun that night.
Oh,
the expectations are high from your new teammates now after that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Make sure you send us along your when you and the wife come up with this year's. Let us know. We'd love to see it.
Yeah, I'll have to. Yeah, I think she's in the mix of it right now, so I'll definitely let you know.
Hey, we want to say goodbye to Reggie. Is he there?
He took off. I think she just got home picking up her friend, so that's what he was barking at. He heard the door open, and he's going in full protect mode, making sure I'm okay. So.
Well, awesome, buddy. Nothing but the best for you this year in Columbus, and we appreciate you guys hooking this up and getting them on.
Good luck.
Absolutely. Yeah, when Hicks texted me, I made sure to use my department training camp a couple years ago, so it was great.
Well, thank you for coming on, man.
Thanks, buddy. We appreciate it.
No problem.